Hello and welcome to Black Bear Atheist. I like having a 2-for-1 deal. So when I find a Frank Turek video and a Christian YouTuber reacting to it, I say, well, if it's short, it is between 10 to 15 minutes, let's react to it. So here we are on Ronel Aaron's channel, a Christian YouTuber, and we're gonna see how Frank dismantled atheism in 10 minutes. I mean, I think someone already did it in 1 minute, but we're gonna see Frank do it in 10 minutes and break, I guess, the record.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, we are going to be reacting to a video by Frank Turek explaining to an atheist why he can't justify his own beliefs. In other words, why you cannot justify and reason in atheism. Before we get started in this video, make sure you guys definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that like button for the YouTube algorithm. That being said, let's dive straight into.
Oh yeah, before we dive in, subscribe, like, share, do whatever the YouTube algorithm likes. I generally don't know what he likes. I've been trying to figure it out for like the past, since I started this YouTube channel. It's not easy. So like, subscribe. Of course, if you like my content, and if you don't, you could just watch it.
The video.
Why couldn't we trust their minds if they're just made of matter?
Well, because if physics drive everything and there's no immaterial realm, if mind, then how can physics drive conclusions that are true? They might drive conclusions that lead to survival, but not true. Like right now we're having a conversation, right?
Yes.
What physical laws are creating your response to me and my response to you?
I guess all of the atoms and particles and all the laws of nature just wrapped up together in a ultra complex way.
Well, yeah, but how do they come up with these unique questions? We're having a conversation here. Are we saying that different chemicals come into...
Okay, Frank. So I've never seen this video of Frank Turek, which is very interesting, because I've watched too much of this guy. Anyways, back to the point. You're not making any sense. If you think about it, we're already a complex being. We already have a bunch of atoms and particles making us up. We're the one. We're already like a species. So we're the one making that question up, not really necessarily the universe. The universe made us, and we're making that question.
...into existence when I say pink elephant, and different chemicals come up in your mind when you say white rhinoceros.
Yeah.
And that would be more of a miracle than saying we just have minds.
Would it?
Yeah.
It's your brain, not mind. It's just your brain. It's your brain processing. Just like you have a bunch of different thoughts.
Because it's like I guess think of like a computer.
Uh-huh.
Like we have like the screen of our eyes basically, but like you can't just like break open a computer and see, oh look, there's the pink elephant that's stored in there.
That's
But
right.
You can go onto the computer, type pink elephant, and there's the pink elephant.
Right, but this computer's designed. And
Yeah.
that's why we can trust it. If a computer was not designed, would you trust it?
I mean, I guess I'm having a hard time thinking of what that would even look like.
That's right. That's my point. That's Lewis's point.
Yeah.
Why we can trust our minds, we know that. That's the effect. The question is what caused that?
I guess evolution.
Well, Frank, we can't trust our brain. That's why we have math. That's why we have other systems set up so we could remove our biases. We can't actually trust our brain. I don't know. This is weird for coming from you. Isn't your entire idea that we can trust ourselves, so does God? We can't trust our brain. That is why we have a bunch of systems set up. I mean, our memories are like not even the best thing to trust. we can't trust our brain, Frank. No one says we actually can't trust our brain. Like our brain actually fucks us up like every 2 seconds.
Evolution.
But even if evolution were true, what laws that are driving evolution, where do they come from?
I guess I don't know.
Yeah, see, that's
The universe. Why? Oh my god.
that's what Lewis is saying here. That when you get back to it,
Oh, Franken is the goat of Christianity. Lewis.
if the thoughts that you have are merely the byproducts of some atoms within my skull, then you should have no reason to trust those thoughts. But you can trust your thoughts, so you ought not reason back.
No, you can't trust your thoughts. You can't actually trust them. You can't trust your brain. That is why we have things to remove our biases, to remove to remove human flaws from our thinking. That's why we have science.
Back to an undesigned mind, you ought to reason back to a designed mind. In fact, here's what John Lennox asked some scientist friends of his who are atheists. He says,
Another classic fool.
how do you do science? And they say, oh, I got this machine. And he goes, no, I'm not talking about a machine in your office or your lab. How do you do science up here? And they say, you mean
You got a brain on your you got a machine on your head. Like your brain is so complex. You do science with your brain. You think with your brain. Do you think that's just a saying? Thinking with your brain? No, that's a literal thing. Your brain is the one that processes everything in your body, including your thoughts and your line and logic. It's all coming from your brain.
with mind? They start to say mind and they catch themselves and say brain. And
Because they were indoctrinated into thinking or so. Like our society is deeply involved in like Christian bullshit. So I say mind every 2 seconds too. I'm referring to brain. Whenever I say mind, I'm referring to brain. It's a brain process, not a mind.
they say brain, and he says, yeah, with your brain. What's the history of your brain? How did your brain get here? And they say, oh, my brain is the product of random forces that didn't have its end in mind. And then Lennox says, and you trust it?
Oh,
Yeah, well, why would you trust such a thing? Why would you trust a computer if such a computer could come into existence out of nothing if it wasn't designed?
It hasn't let me down before. Or it has, but not.
Right, because you're...
Before we do go ahead and move further along into the video, notice what he said. He said, because it's gotten me this far. That has nothing to do with whether or not what you have been thinking of is true. It just means that it is useful, or you're basically arguing from a point of utilitarianism, meaning it doesn't matter whether or not something is true. If it's useful, then it's useful. It's pragmatic. But it's kind of as if arguing with the idea that I've debunked a few videos ago, wherein I was calling Andrew Tate a grifter in a sense because of his conversion to Islam. And one person
Oh yeah, that is very funny. He was first a Christian, I think, and then become an atheist, and then call atheists and Christians like a bunch of nerds, and then become a Muslim. It's a very interesting storyline.
commented this, and I just thought it was so beautiful. It said, so Andrew Tate was basically a Muslim, not because it's true, but because it was quote unquote the winning team of the current times, in a sense. Even though we can debate back and forth whether or not it's the winning team, whatever. But essentially, that's what it was. The same way how this person is just arguing the validity of his thoughts, of his brain, because it's gotten him this far, has nothing to do with whether or not it's true. Let's keep it going.
already have the effect.
You do understand that Frank is saying you can trust your brain, right? which you can't. You can't actually trust your brain, and that's exactly what Frank is saying.
But you need to reason back to the cause, right? Your mind is an effect. So what caused your mind is the question. Laws, which do the same thing over and over again, physics does the same thing over and over again. How does it give us this diverse variety of conversation we're having right now?
The universe is a very big place. It would at least be a little logical that certain conversations would happen between intelligent beings. Right,
but where do intelligent beings come from? That's the question.
From the universe. Universe with the law of the universe and the law of nature developed over a long ass time. And here we are, complex beings in this universe. The question of where did the universe come from, we don't know. So to put your God there, that is the God of the gaps. You can keep saying this all day, Frank. You're just making claims and assertions with no evidence.
See, physics does the same thing over and over again.
Also, this is why you don't trust your brain. This is exactly why you don't trust your brain. Because when you look at it, just from your brain standpoint, it looks like everything is turning and the hurt is staying still. That is why you don't trust your brain.
Where does the genetic code come from? This is a software program, right? Programs come from programmers. In all our
No, it's not.
Experience, that's where it comes from. So that's where we have an effect, this software program. The question is, what caused it? Why would we say natural laws which do the same thing over and over again, which can't produce this specified complexity we see in a code?
Is every star the same?
No, every star is not the same, but stars aren't specified and complex. Specified complexity is like a program, like a pattern, like this is specified complexity. You would never see this. Let me just give you a simple example. If you're walking along the beach and you see John loves Mary in the sand, you don't think the waves made that. You don't think crabs came out of the water and made that message, right? You say that message requires a mind. Well, if that message, John loves Mary, requires a mind, then what happens if you find a message 3.5 billion letters long?
Who the fuck found that? Because DNA is not what you're talking about, Frank. Because DNA is not a code by God that you have to decrypt. Like, come on, Frank. People have told you this like 10,000 times. That you're speaking gibberish.
That's got to require a mind too. That's what we're saying.
But to that, I would say you could see like a skull in the rocks and say, oh, that's a message of an omen of death or whatever.
What?
And even though it was just the waves washing up on the shore that created this.
Yeah, we're not saying you can't find.
Basically, we put meaning to these words. We put meaning to these letters. You could actually see letters anywhere. You could see faces in a cloud. But it's our brain process it. Like, we reorganize, we try to find pattern. That's why people say they find faces in trees. It's just what we do. We're pattern seekers. We just seek patterns.
Things that look odd in nature that, oh, that looks like it could be Grandfather Mountain. Looks like the way that stone comes out. Looks like it's his nose. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about specified complexity.
It's basically the same thing. Like, the language that you're talking about, we humans do create that language. And to see somewhere else, we'll try to make a pattern out of it. We'll try to explain it. But even if we see like an alien language, we wouldn't necessarily understand it. So here's kind of where your logic kind of falls apart. Even when you see another language, that's just a language that we humans don't understand, we wouldn't be able to understand it. Even if it's from an intelligent being or like aliens or something, and it's just decrypted in a different way, we won't be able to understand it. Because it's not letters. I'm going on a rant here.
Such a false equivalency. We're not talking about we're talking about logical occurrences, meaning there's a difference between letters formed on a sand versus grifts and strides on the beach walk.
And I'm saying, to an extent, they're about the same thing. Let me explain. So we made up letters, and if someone write it on the ground and we see that, we assume that it's from a human because that's a human thing. But our brains seek patterns. Our brain seeks patterns. So that's why in the sky people said, oh yeah, they see like a, a cloud shaped like a face, a cloud shaped like an elephant or something. And that's why people see faces in trees. We seek pattern and we look for patterns. So in nature, you could see things that looks like man-made in a sense, but are not. I don't know.
The same way how you wouldn't conclude by seeing or from seeing a watch in the middle of the forest and say, oh, nature must have brought it here. No, you would assume that somebody lost it there or somebody
You would assume it was made by man because you could literally see that it was made by man. You know it was made by man to begin with. Like, how do you know it's a watch? And I'm sorry to get like a Jordan Peterson BS right now, but how do you know it's a watch? Because you know how watch are made. You understand how watches are made by humans.
dropped it off there, or maybe this was a memorabilia of whatever, or whatnot. Seeing a skull on the beach front and concluding that it's an omen of death is more of an abstract conclusion because an omen of death is not definitive. What does that mean? What we are saying, though, is that that skull was left there not by chance. Somebody died here, or somebody brought this piece of skull here. That's definitive. Being an omen of death is more abstract, and that was just such a false equivalency that I could not help but pause the video. Let's keep it going, though.
If Christianity were true, would you become a Christian?
No. Clearly, no. Hell, no.
The answer has to always be yes. If having a conversation,
The answer has to always be yes. No. Have you read the Bible? This God has a lot of explanation to do if Christianity is true. A global flood? Hell fucking no.
with any of your friends, whether Islam, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, whatever, atheist, if the question becomes, if this religion were true or if this belief were true, would you be this person? The answer should always be yes, because you always want to be on the side of truth.
I guess you also can differentiate between having to believe that God exists and to follow God. If Christianity were true, would I become a Christian? No. If Christianity were true, I would have to admit that Christianity is true. That is all you're getting from me. I will have to admit that your God exists. I will have to admit all your dumb claims from the Bible. But that's all you're getting. You're not getting me to worship this guy.
Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Okay, if I gave you a book, I have no more money left. Would you
Very interesting atheist, but okay.
read it?
Probably. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I would never. I like my interest and my attention span on reading go from like decent to like terrible.
And that basically wraps it up for this video. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you and thanks be to God for you guys. Let me just scoot on over here real quick. Thank you guys so much for
You did not move.
staying tuned in to the end of the video. And I know you guys definitely liked it, which is why you've made it to the end of the video. So I urge you.
No, I actually did not like it at all. Anyways, I believe that's where we're gonna stop. This was not a dismantle of atheism. This was just one guy who was an atheist and decided to read Frank Turek's book, and if Christianity were true, it would become a Christian. Some people, atheists, would say, yes, I would become a Christian if Christianity were true. I would say no. I need more. I need more reason than just. I would be forced to believe that he exists, but I would need more reason to what he did in the Bible. And if he can present any good reason, honestly, I don't think there will be any good reason, then I would not become a Christian. And the question comes with a proposition that just fails. The question comes with an assumption that you're just gonna become a Christian if Christianity were true. There's so much if in that question that it doesn't make sense to even ask. Unless you're trying to make that person look like, oh, they were being dishonest, even though they were saying they were looking for evidence. They were not, they were just lying. And that's exactly what Frank was trying to do. That's exactly why any Christian or any theist would ask such question. These people enjoy being dishonest for the Lord. They enjoy lying for the Lord. And it's the same pattern all over apologetics video. It is so weird. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. I just found this guy and I'm like, let's check it out. If you like the video, like and subscribe. Have a great day.